It's Alvaro Dreams, also known as your one and only Red Card Spy from the Covenant, and in this video I would like to talk about the good and bad things about ESO. Shh. I'm sure for many players, ESO was their first MMO experience, just like it was mine. And to be honest, it was more of a good experience than a bad one. Or maybe I'm just more focused on the good things about the game than the bad ones. I think that's just how I try to look at most things. So to end this video in a positive way, let me start with the bad things about ESO. Of course, the balance. I think there's no one that can argue whether or not this game's classes, skills and armor is balanced. There are skills that are overperforming, sets that are straight up OP, and classes that perform better, hit harder and have more utility than other classes. In my opinion, I always felt underpowered in comparison with Magicka players, especially Zorks. I think partially because I rather use my crafted basic 533 set during a duel than the OP ones out there. But Magicka builds also have much more utility. If we talk PvE, during a dungeon or trial, playing a stamina build is a lot more dangerous because you seem more likely to die than a Magicka build. And when people start kicking you out of a trial or dungeon because you're a stamina build, it becomes obvious that Magicka Zorks are the superior hard-hitting skinny elves out there compared to a buff puny punching red guard as my character. But yeah, balance in whatever way it should be done in your opinion. It sure has to be done, and that brings me to my second point. PvP, both CYRODILL and dueling. For a really long time I wasn't able to compete against those hardcore CYRODILL killers out there. But I didn't mind. I thought it's only normal because I'm new to the game, you know, my first MMO, first time experiencing the PvP side of an MMO, and I probably just lack the skill. And in the beginning that was definitely true. So when I became more experienced, I began to learn how to use my class in a proper way, and I became able to play CYRODILL and actually enjoy it. As a new player, you will not and cannot feel confident about yourself in CYRODILL. You'll get shredded like you were thrown in a bowl with slaughterfish. Not only because of your level and inexperience, but now, as it is now, also because you don't use certain sets. Because I think that PvP doesn't require the same skill as it used to do. Sets have been doing so much for people that it makes up for their lack of skill. And there are so many competitive players out there that only enjoy PvP. I think we can all agree that CYRODILL became less enjoyable because of this, but also because of being satisfied with it after these years. There are campaigns where people just laugh at you for trying to take a scroll or keep, and as a new player you would think, but what the heck, isn't that what CYRODILL about? But what you might not realize is that these veterans got tired of it. It's really all about alliance points. It is time for some new way of PvPing, and even if many players don't believe this, I do think that Zenimax realize this, but they just have to think of a way of making it happen. If I read the patch notes correctly, increasing the AP you get for grabbing a farm or keep is okay, but it won't be sufficient enough to satisfy the need of the hardcore PvP players out there. And my third and last bad thing about ESO has to do with the people playing the game. It's not the game itself and the content, but no matter how you look at it, we are part of this game. A lot of people, especially these hardcore PvP players I mentioned, are just nasty. It's like some people's personality in the game are just covered with New Life Festival mud balls, straight up nasty. And it's sad to see that because that's how they actually are. It's not role-playing their character, they are their character. And for my first time playing such a social-based MMO, I got unpleasantly surprised. The saddest part, in my opinion, is how most are actually adults. Remember the time when people that played on the PS4 had no other way to communicate in-game than through voice chat, up until update 11, which implemented text chat for the consoles. I think ZeniMax did that to make the game forcibly social. I can think of any other reason why in-game text wasn't there sooner. But with all these good intentions, let's be honest, many people playing games are a bit socially awkward. And the ones that weren't socially awkward and actually voice chatted could be lying and playing you as if it's nothing, as if deceiving people was their full-time job. Guild leaders will know the poisonous eggs of these serpents out there. Stuff like guild bank robbers and just people that ruined guilds with their drama. I definitely can't be the only one that experienced these things. And even though text chat with update 11 was primarily a good thing, it did open up the road for socially awkward serpents to hide behind their keyboards and spread their poison through text chatting. It's really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate that there's a handful of people that can just ruin your game experience. A game is supposed to be fun. But yeah, since I'm going to switch to the good things about this game, I do want to end this point by giving all the friendly players out there their shine. It is definitely their presence that improve other people's game experience. Now on to the good things about ESO. The first thing I want to point out is the content. As a gamer, I always want to make the most out of my money and the game. Which means I want to do everything the game has to offer, but not only do it, but actually appreciate what the developers at ZeniMax Online Studios have made. And to be able to play this game for a bit longer than a year now is proof that there's a lot to do. Of course, to each their own. Many PvP players really don't care about the PvE side of this game and the storylines that have been created. But I'm just a grateful person, so yeah, I realize there's some blood, sweat and tears in everything you see in that game. I don't know how to make a game, but you can bet that something like ESO takes a lot of effort to make, let alone dive back into the core to make adjustments and keep it fully functional. Again, I really like the storylines and the characters that came with them. Not to spoil anything, but Sai Sahan, my father and the son of Nasir Ita Sahan, was just epic. Second, voice actors, songs and soundtracks. I've seen my brother playing MMOs on the PC, and the first thing I noticed in ESO was how every character had an actual voice. For me, that was absolutely something that I appreciated. It would be really weird to play a different MMO and just hear unrecognizable humming, or just plain text, or the combination of unrecognizable humming and plain text. And these bard songs are amazing. Throughout the game I always took my time to listen to them, especially when it was that woman with the beautiful voice, Maluka. The fact that I know her name shows I've actually searched it up and was impressed by it. So well done. Of course the male versions of the bard songs were okay too, no hate for that. The soundtracks in ESO are epic. Just thinking of the orchestra that performed them makes me feel thankful, cause who even wrote these soundtracks? It's amazing. A couple patches later some new soundtracks were added for certain maps if I'm correct, and that definitely gave the game a new life to it. The third thing I really like about ESO are the armor motifs, or motifs. I don't know how to pronounce that, so please let me know. But the amount of armor motifs in this game, some people have them all, I can't have them all, and I don't want them all, because the best one in my opinion is of course the Akafiri armor I have on now. But in the beginning of the game, I went to the Fighters Guild and immediately noticed the chest plate of seesaw colors, and all I could think of was how to get that chest plate. Back then, I didn't know it costed a lot of alliance points, so it wasn't until months and months later, and with the help of a generous Viking friend, that I was able to complete my full armor set. Other than the Akaviri motif, I think Mercenary looks sick too, and with the new skin changer motif from the New Life Festival patch, people that like wolves were definitely satisfied. The only thing I would like for armor styles is if they actually had a bit more depth. Like for example with my Akaviri chest piece, when you have a band around the waist, that it's actually a bit more organic or dynamic, if you know what I mean. But nonetheless, there are so many motifs out there. There's something for everyone, and that's a good thing. And if not, which motif do you want to see? Because I can't really think of one. And to wrap this video up, the fourth and last thing I find good about ESO are the developers. And people will hate me for saying this, but let me explain. It might be because I don't have experience with other MMOs, but honestly, I've never seen this much effort from the side of the developers to reach and listen to their players. The way they put themselves out there during these ESO live streams to get slaughtered by angry players is praiseworthy. And again, even if people will hate me for saying this, it's just how it is. It's a fact that they do this. I know there's so many things that need to be worked on. I know. So many things I didn't even mention. Not only to make this video any longer than it is, but also because I just don't have that deep knowledge of the game as some of the pro players out there. They really know what they're talking about and have spent many hours and money on this game. There's no doubt about that. Probably more than the developer itself could possibly have the time for. But that being said, when I see people writing, do they even play the game? All I can think of is yes they do, but definitely not as hardcore as we players are able to. But that's exactly why SOS listens to the players. And yes, of course, it's not executed perfect. I got to stay honest with you guys, and I know that it's true. But hey, we can't say they're not trying with what they can work with. And I can definitely appreciate that. Because no matter your opinion, it remains a fact that they actively try to listen to our feedback in whatever form it gets thrown at them. Anyway, thanks for taking the time to listen to some small fry ESO player. I'm sure we might disagree with some things I've said, so if you feel the need, you can be the flame athero and I'll keep it cool and be the ice atheronog. To everyone that plays this game, enjoy. I got to bring back my spy report to High King Emmerich, so see you.